It's 7:22. Donald Trump has vowed to put America's interests first. That'll go down well. After a speech this morning on foreign policy. It comes after he made a real statement against his opponents with a 5-state clean sweep yesterday. When I say clean sweep, it wasn't just winning the 5 states, it was absolutely trouncing them. Spectacular wins in every state. Joining me to talk about this is New York-based Kiwi political blogger, Danielle McLaughlin. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us this morning. What a crazy place America is. What a crazy election this is.
Yes, and the last 18 hours have been even more insane than the last 6 or so months. But yeah, it's an interesting place to be right now.
Okay, let's talk firstly. He has taken all of the wind out of his opponent's sails, hasn't he? That was an extraordinary sweep of votes yesterday.
Truly it was, and if you add that to New York last Tuesday, honestly, he was always expected to do well. Republicans in this part of the country are pretty moderate, honestly, so he was expected to do really well, but what happened last night, nobody really predicted. We were thinking that he might get 90, 95 delegates. He got about 105. It's looking really difficult for him not to get to 1237. And Cruz and Kasich, well, clearly they're scratching their heads and looking into all sorts of other tactics to try and make some headway here. You
know, the thing is, he may not be unstoppable, but if he's going to be stopped, it isn't going to be by Cruz or Kasich, is it?
Probably not, honestly. In about 40 minutes, we're going to see Ted Cruz make an announcement about Carly Fiorina. That's clearly calculated to make a dent in the next state, which is Indiana, which Cruz is really going all in for. I keep thinking that Trump is going to get out, and I thought that 6 months ago, but he's looking like more and more of an unstoppable force.
Isn't this extraordinary that Cruz, and obviously it's a political advertisement really, but isn't it extraordinary at this time when he is so far on the back foot, he's announcing a running mate?
Well, I mean, I think that he's trying to do is take some of the oxygen out of the room that Donald Trump has otherwise been sucking out. And this is sort of something that we've seen Trump do just ahead of debates or other things. So clearly the news cycle is really important, and clearly free media has been very important to Trump's rise. He's spent so little on traditional political advertisements. So what Cruz wants to do is make an impact after being utterly trounced in the Northeast. He said in his very early speech yesterday that as they turn westward, things look better for Cruz. But at the end of the day, a president has to be able to win across the country. Yep. Normally, Republican presidents don't do well here in the Northeast, but it's looking like Trump really could give Hillary Clinton, if she's the nominee on the Democratic side, a real run for her money here.
You know what, the magical figure, and you mentioned it before, 1,237. You clearly think it's possible he will get there, Trump will get there. If he doesn't get there, he's obviously going to get very, very close. The Republicans can't not make him their delegate, can they?
No, and he may get close. He may get within 60. And those are just the bound delegates. So the Republican side particularly is very, very complicated. And Pennsylvania is probably a good example. There were only 17 bound delegates, but 54 unbound delegates, and those were distributed last night. Ultimately, a delegate at the convention after the first round of voting can make up their own mind about who they want to vote for. But it becomes very hard to not vote for Donald Trump if he's won so exceedingly well in places like Pennsylvania.
Well, because at the end of the day, if America is anything, it's a democracy. And what we're seeing here, whether we like it or not, and it seems overwhelmingly people don't like it, this is democracy at work, isn't it?
It is. I think things we have to think about or bear in mind is that the voter turnout in primaries is very, very low. Ultimately, the general election turnout tends to be a lot higher. And what we're seeing from exit polls is, in some ways, Trump is doing very well across all sorts of different demographics. But then in other ones, he's doing terribly. So he's doing very well in basically white, low education voting. He's doing badly with non-whites. He's doing very badly with women. He does well with Republican leaning, but independents not so much. So head-to-head polling, he still does badly against Hillary Clinton, although at this point in the race, it's still very early to really put much stock in those.
Okay, so
it's going to be a long and interesting summer.
All right, Danielle, you're watching this more closely than most people and have been for some time. 2 very, very quick questions before we go. 1, do you think this will come down to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton? 2, can Donald Trump win?
The answer to 1 is yes, and my answer to number 2 is I'm crossing my fingers, no. I think Hillary Clinton, I think America will come to its senses. She is she is the best qualified person for this job. The ugly rhetoric from Donald Trump, this joke of a foreign policy speech today, he's not ready to be president. He just got a lot of free media, and I'm hoping and praying that ultimately it'll be Hillary Clinton.
Okay, so it's a yes and a maybe. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you back again very soon because there will be so much more to talk about. You will notice that's Danielle McLaughlin, political blogger from New York, New Zealander though, New Zealand political blogger from New York, and she is sought out as a political commentator across there in the United States by the major networks. Anyhow, we will talk to her again very soon. You'll notice we didn't mention Bernie Sanders, and that's because we don't need to.